Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores or estate sales, or sometimes I buy things from Craigslist, and I'm always looking for things that I find interesting or that I think you guys would find interesting. And then I bring them home, try and find out as much as I can about them, and then tell you guys about them. So here's what I've got today. I'm gonna shuffle things around a bit. So I finally have some silverware to show you. And it's not even great stuff, I don't think. Hi. So what I've got here is a little sugar bowl and creamer set. And I actually bought these in a local church thrift store. They did this pop-up thrift store essentially just to support the community, to support the church itself. And I always like to go along to it. Just to kind of see what they've got, you know, because they usually have, like, it's kind of a bit hit and miss, but they've usually got something interesting to look at least. And I got this, and it even has the price tag left in it is $10 for the set. And to be honest, I almost never even look at silverware, and I generally wouldn't even consider buying it, except that in this case I thought what we had here was probably fairly decent quality. The thing about silverware, especially in thrift stores, you will see a phenomenal amount of it. Like, there will, it's a bit like clear glassware. You will see an entire shelf of nothing but this stuff, you know, and it's usually pretty grungy or in bad condition. It's just not great. Like, it's very cheap. Sometimes it's going to be like, sometimes you'll see that essentially the silver plate will be rubbing off. You'll see to the base metal underneath. It will be in bad shape essentially. I see so much of it that I will never consider picking it up. I picked up this stuff because I thought that this is probably the finest quality silver plate set I've ever seen. We do actually have a mark, which is you can see my phone. This is what my phone case looks like. Yeah, I'm afraid that we can't see the mark here, but you're going to have to just take my word for what it actually is. There is a mark. Not on the tray, mind you, because, you know, why not? Let's possibly not make them match. I can't actually confirm if the tray even goes with the set. I do think it probably does. I just find it interesting that there isn't a mark on it. But the set itself, if you could actually see close enough to that little mark. Yeah, no, I don't think you can. So what it actually says is Keltum, and a very, very tiny little crown next to it. We got stuff to talk about with Keltum, but anyway, let's measure these up. Tray is about 9 inches across, or 9 inches long, I should say, and then maybe six, a little shy of 6.5 inches across there. I'm not going to try and measure the height of it because it's like really short. And the sugar bowl, that's about 3.5 inches across there, and about 3 inches high, including the little handle. And finally the creamer. That is 3 3/4 inches lengthways from spout to handle, then about 2.5 inches across that way, and I'll just measure to the handle because that's the highest part. Just over 3 inches. No, actually, if I measure properly, yeah, about 3 inches high. Okay. Need a measure tape. Okay, so stay. Okay, so basically what we've got here is a fairly nice silver plate tea set. Basically, it's your sugar bowl, it's your creamer. They're in reasonably good condition. They're silver plate, which means that there's a base metal underneath. No idea what that is. It's probably stainless steel, I hope. And that's basically just what I know about Keltum itself. I don't think it would be copper or brass, because I think it should probably have to be stamped specifically if it was electroplated copper or brass. And this, by the way, is what you will normally see if you actually look at silver plate stuff or whatever in a thrift store. The massive shelf of it, if you want to take a look at it. always look at the base, and generally what you will see is EPNS or EP brass or EP copper, and that stands for electroplated copper, electroplated brass. So it's brass is the base metal, and they basically electroplate the silver on this tiny layer of silver on top of it. EPNS stands for electroplated nickel silver. Nickel silver is just like I done a video before on the Mexican jewelry. It's the same kind of stuff. It's basically it's an alloy of copper. There is no actual silver in it. It just looks kind of silvery. You would occasionally see stuff as well, which would be like mentioning like lead or lead mounts. Please do not buy those. I don't think they're food safe. I think they were probably a bad idea. But anyway, so bearing in mind that I've looked this up, and the mark is Keltum. Do we know anything actually about Keltum? And okay, first of all, we kind of do. So I did a quick look around to see if I could see anything, you know, what exactly have we got for sugar bowls and creamers by Keltum. And we do have some examples, and they do come with a tray. This one here specifically is a silver plated creamer and sugar set, and it says 2 cups and plate. I don't know where it's getting that from. This, by the way, $55 for this vintage set. The nice thing about that is that the least you can see, like the little curl in the handle is sort of broadly similar. Different set, obviously, but a little bit similar. Maybe good enough for us. The rest of the examples here, I have to say, are just like not great, and they look a bit more like 1980s. And then we don't really get much at all, unfortunately. There are some examples of like the tea sets and everything, especially these here with the bigger, like the bigger teapot and what have you. And not a whole lot, like really not a whole lot. But having said all that, what do we actually know about Keltum themselves? So Keltum is actually a line produced by a company. The name of the company is Royal van Kempen and Begeer. I'm probably butchering that. They are Dutch. Massive apologies. I'm just basically reading enough here. Essentially, there's a silver company, or silversmiths, that they're essentially going back to 1777. Van Kempen is probably one of the bigger names in Dutch silversmithing, and they had a company that's been around for an incredibly long time. And Keltum was the line that they produced of silver-plated and stainless steel wares that kind of started in the 1930s in the Great Depression and allowed them to survive that. Because obviously the Great Depression, nobody had the money for, you know, solid silver. But yeah, so essentially, if you take a look at the stuff here on the actual Keltum one, because they're still producing this now, obviously. Come on. A lot of what you see, by the way, is the silver. Oh, it's in Dutch. Okay, thank you. Shows the Lasix. Lasix? No? Okay. Yeah. So you can see a lot of what they do is just the knives and forks and everything. And that was the same in replacements.com. This is normally where I go to kind of see, like, you know, are you looking for vintage stuff? Like, are they going to actually list anything useful for, like, maybe what this particular set is called or something? No, they have only the silverware, nothing else. It has been rather tricky to find out any information at all about, like, when this might have been made. The only thing I know for sure is after the 1930s. I have a feeling based on the design that it's probably early, and I want to say the 1950s at the latest, because that just kind of seems correct for, well, first of all, it's kind of a bit worn anyway, and the style kind of strikes me as being like in that time period. It looks a little too old-fashioned to kind of be anything modern anyway. I did find some information about, essentially about, like, a little bit more about the name of the company, and Van Kempen and the year. Again, really sorry if I'm butchering that name. This is a site that I come across every once in a while. This is 925-100, and they're essentially silver forums. These are the guys who just kind of do all the research to find out about silver marks and silver history and a bunch more stuff. And there's one particular thread, and I'm sorry I'm skipping past a lot of this. I'm trying to scroll back up. I did a lot of reading. Here we go. Is it there? Damn it. Okay, they have an entire thread here on nothing but the Dutch silver industry going back a few hundred years, and a lot of it is like it makes for very interesting reading. Which, by the way, and I want that so much. That is something that is beautiful. Cannot get over that. Anyway, but if we just kind of try to skip around a bit and we try to get to, here we go. Van Kempen and Zonen, Kempen and Begier and Voss, and a few other, basically a bunch of information about Van Kempen, who was, you know, again, one of the big names in silver, and the history of, you know, their company up to the present day. And it has a quick mention of Kempen and how that was the line that came out during the Great Depression. So there's a lot of information here about specifically about the company and mostly about the actual production of silver, not so much about what we're interested in right now, because what we have obviously is the silver plate set. Now the other problem is that basically I know for a fact that looking in thrift stores, most of the silver plate stuff in a thrift store will never ever sell. It's rubbishy stuff. Would this possibly sell? Now here's our thing. We have a vintage silver plated Keltum. It says pleat. I love that. Creamer and sugar set, and this one is selling for, there you go, $66.98 Canadian, or best offer with a whole bunch of shipping. So does that mean that I did good here and got a good set? And to be honest, I really don't know. One thing that actually really does worry me is that I don't know what the base metal is underneath. I'm only literally assuming there's probably stainless steel based on the reading there, that, you know, they were producing stainless steel as well. Also the fact that, you know, silver plate or whatever from Kempen is apparently far more high quality. Obviously I wouldn't have bought it for $10 otherwise, but this doesn't really give me much of an indication of how much it might actually cost. I honestly don't know. I can't find anything comparable. I know that Kempen is being collected and people are generally, and you know, if you're not looking to spend an outrageous amount of money on actual pure silver, a very nice silver plated set was probably going to be worth something. But for this, I really don't know. I'm going to have to do some research. I believe it is vintage, so I will probably be listing it on Etsy. But yeah, for the time being, it's going to be a little bit of mystery. And of course, I'm going to take the sticker off. Yeah, I still think it's quite nice. It is certainly the nicest silver plate set I've ever seen. So this is my small joyful thing for the day. I hope you guys like it as well. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.